Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. This is what we do here on the My Aligned Purpose podcast. We have two segments of shows every Monday. I know there are a lot of new listeners here. Every Monday, you can expect a solo episode with myself, Nicole, and the theme is Thank goodness it's Monday. I like to put Monday on a pedestal the way a lot of 9-to-5ers put a weekend on a pedestal because I love the work that I do and I get really excited about the week ahead. And I love to talk about more of the spiritual, energetic side of business. So in a lot of these solo episodes, you can expect to hear me talk about NLP, manifestation, mindset, the chakra system, neuroscience, energetics, all the fun stuff. And today I'm really excited because I'm going to be talking about the neuroscience of goal setting. Now, I know that this time of year can kind of feel like the new year for a lot of people as you begin Q4. There's lots to look forward to. And I don't want to just talk about goal setting. I'm not a regular goal setter. I'm a cool goal setter. So we're going to talk about the neuroscience of setting goals. Oftentimes, you've probably heard goals talked about in terms of vision boarding, strategy, planning, that sort of thing. But today I want to zoom in and talk about what actually happens in your brain when you set a goal and how you can use that science to your advantage. First of all, I know from myself, from the extensive research I have done on neuroscience and goals and NLP and manifestation, plus the over 1,000 women that I've had the opportunity to sit and have conversations with and coach and take through courses and stuff, is that we all are searching. It seems like we're on a quest, a lifelong quest for more clarity. You know, we are wired to crave clarity and direction. And I would say 99% of the time, when I sit down with somebody or I go into a breakout room with them on Zoom and I say, what would you love to get out of this call? If you could walk away with anything from this call today, what would it be? And in some way, shape, or form, I always hear, I would love clarity on my direction, clarity on my goals, clarity on my launch, clarity on what my next steps are in business, a clearer direction on the path. Clarity is the most sought after thing. I think for many of us, we're wired for that way. So when you set a specific goal, you are activating your prefrontal cortex. Okay. You are activating the part of your brain that is responsible for decision making. It's responsible for focus, for forward planning. These are all really great things when we're thinking about how we're going to bring in more clarity into our life. And this activation, when you set the goal and you turn on the focus and you turn on the decision making, this activation is like turning on your brain's GPS. I've given so many GPS analogies over the years. You know, one of the big ones that I've talked about is if I'm here on Vancouver Island and I want to get to Halifax, Nova Scotia, well, I have to first know that Halifax, Nova Scotia is my destination. If I just get in the car and drive, I could end up anywhere. It would be aimless. There wouldn't be direction. The other thing is that having an outcome or a desired destination, in this case, Halifax, Nova Scotia, keeps me anchored. And if I get detoured, or if I want to stop an extra night somewhere else, I can keep coming back to, oh yeah, what is the goal that I really want to achieve here? I really would like to end up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And so when we set a goal, it's like turning on the GPS in your brain. You are allowing yourself not to drift. You know, when you have a destination, then you don't drift, you don't stray. But when you do have a destination, when you do have a goal, your mind begins to scan for pathways, right? It begins to scan for pathways, for opportunities, little micro decisions that all align with where you would like to go. Now, I love this because I love talking about the RAS. I love talking about the reticular activating system and how it wants us to feed it proof. Oftentimes we're feeding it proof without realizing it. The easiest, most common example here of feeding your reticular activating system proof is the car analogy. Again, I don't know. We got something here with cars. We're getting in the car and we're driving to Nova Scotia, and now we're thinking about the new car we want to buy, and it's the crisp white G-Wagon with the gold chrome accents. That's the car I'm putting into the RAS. Now, what happens when you tell your brain to either consciously or unconsciously look for proof of things, you will start to recognize it more than you previously had and more than other people will. Now, when I'm out and about and I'm with my husband or I'm with Kayla, like the two people who know how much I love G-Wagons, particularly white with the gold features. They're like, G-Wagon, G-Wagon, like we point them out everywhere. I live in Victoria. There's not a whole lot of people who drive G-Wagons, but there's a fair amount. I always see a G-Wagon at the gym I go to. They're there. When I'm in Arizona, obviously there's a lot more people driving G-Wagons in Scottsdale, or when I'm down in Newport, Orange County, I see them there, Seattle, and I'm noticing them. Now, if you don't know what a G-Wagon is, you don't care about a G-Wagon, it doesn't tickle your fancy, you're probably not paying attention to it. You're probably not noticing them when they drive by. But because I have my reticular activating system scanning for them as proof of it being possible, other people have them, what's available for them is available for me. This supports me in the belief of it's getting closer and closer and closer. So we want to ask our brain to scan and look for pathways and look for opportunities and look for those micro decisions that align with the goal, that align with what it is that we are looking for. Another piece here that is at play is dopamine, right? There are so many different hormones that move through the body. Dopamine is one of those hormones, and that is your brain's motivational chemical, right? When people are like, I'm not feeling motivated. Yeah, motivation is fleeting. Motivation is not always going to be there. You got to turn on determination. Every time you set a goal, your brain sets off or releases small hits of dopamine that keep you engaged, that keep you motivated. This is why people who are pretty active goal setters, who set goals at every month or every moon cycle, every quarter, every year, every birthday, they've got a thing that works for them. They've got a timeline that works for them, and they actively like to set goals. When do that, the people who set goals more than the people who don't, they release more dopamine than those who sit around and think, what's the point of setting a goal? And therefore, they experience more motivation and more anticipation. And that's why writing down goals, even saying them out loud to the right people, I don't believe that you should tell everybody your goals. That could be a whole other podcast. But writing down your goals and telling them to the right people, or even saying them out loud, taking yourself for a walk and saying them out loud, it can feel energizing. It can feel exciting because it's a neurological boost. It's not just hocus pocus. It's literally a chemical reaction that is happening inside of your brain. So now I want to weave this back into what I was just talking about, the reticular activating system, the RAS. If you have listened to me for the last 5.5 years, you will know that I weave in the RAS here, there, everywhere at as many chances as I can get, because I think it is such a cool net or web that is inside of our brain. And when you understand how to work with it, rather than just being like, I don't know what that is, or I don't think that works for me, or I don't have that. Yes, you do. Everybody has a reticular activating system. I love talking about this because it makes it so much fun to be like, what proof do I want to feed into my reticular activating system? If you are not consciously feeding it proof, or asking for it to show you proof, you will unconsciously be doing that. That's where people are like, they're in fear, they're in worry, they're in doubt, and then they just see more of that because they don't know how to take their focus off of what they're fearful of or what they're worried of. And then so they're putting more and more proof of that into their brain, and the reticular activating system is having them scan for it and look for it. Whereas like you can not do that. This comes, oh my gosh, this is, again, could be a whole other podcast episode, but this is why it is so important to pay attention to the content you are consuming, what background noise you're hearing, what people are listening to on the TV in your house or the radio in your car, or the lyrics of the music, the books, the podcasts, everything that you consume that you are taking in through your five senses, but particularly through your eyes and ears, your sight and sound. Your reticular activating system is taking that in, and it's just starting to build proof of like, oh, I guess maybe you want to hear more of this or see more of this, right? It's like how people say your phones are listening to you. Yeah, your phones are listening to you, but you know what's listening way fucking louder? Your reticular activating system. So be really mindful about what content you are feeding your brain, and be conscious, be a conscious co-creator with source, universe, God, whatever you believe in, your own higher self. Be a conscious creator of what it is you want to see more of, what you want to hear more of, what you want to experience more of. You get to be a co-creator in that. You get to be in control of that. So your RAS, your reticular activating system, You can, if you're a visual person, sometimes I like to think of it like a filter. So it's filtering out different things that you do want to see, you don't want to see. I like to think of it as like a web or a net. It's like catching things that you're asking for it to capture, or like a spotlight. It's really shining a spotlight. You say that you want to buy a white car, and then all of a sudden you see white cars everywhere, and you're noticing those white cars, whereas previously you probably didn't. Or, you're out with an acquaintance and you're walking and having coffee together, and you just can't believe how many white cars you're seeing. And that person is not paying attention at all because that's not what their RAS is scanning for. So once you set an intention, your RAS, your awareness, is going to start to feed you more of that. Like maybe it's to notice people, resources, possibilities that align with your goal. This is really fun. It's really exciting because it shows us that we can actually set a goal and make it come to us a lot sooner than how we've previously been setting goals. Your RAS proves that there's no coincidences. That's what I love about it. There's no coincidences. The same thing happens with your goals. The more clearly you can define a goal, the more your brain can filter that information to support your goal. And what I love about all of this work so much is that it all comes from a place of compassion. When neuroscience and compassion meet and they come together, the brain loves progress, right? Like the brain loves progress. We love progress. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is, but each time you take a tiny little action towards your goal, tiny little action, maybe you write the email, you pick up the phone, you read the book, you put yourself in the networking event, you invest in the thing. Every single time you take an action towards your goal, you are reinforcing a neural pathway in your brain that the dopamine is just flowing through that says, yes, this matters. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I want more proof of this. And you also are feeding yourself compassion of like, wow, I really am co-contributing to this. I really am making this goal happen. And that's why celebrating wins, whether they are big or small, whether they are personal or business, is so incredibly important. You will not ever attend an Align CEO call. We have 50 people inside of Align CEO Method. We are about to enter our 6th year of running this incredible, life-changing, transformational mastermind for women entrepreneurs. And you will never attend a call where we do not open up with that. That is how we set the stage. What are we celebrating today? What feels like a win? It allows you to extract from even the darkest days, the hardest moments, the failed launches, the breakups, the loss, the whatever it allows you to extract something good has to be here. Something has to feel worth celebrating. And when you can do that, that is not fluffy. That's not motivational fluff. That's not spiritual bypassing. That is science. That is you acknowledging the progress. Your brain releases dopamine. So when we kick off a call and everybody's in the chat and they're celebrating, I got more followers on Instagram that I'm able to pitch my sales to. I had a higher open rate on my email launch this season. And so I'm getting to have more conversations with people. I'm celebrating my 100th episode of my podcast. I'm celebrating that I got up early when I said I was going to. I'm celebrating that the kids are back in school and I've got more time to myself. When we read through those together, when we go through those together, it's like dopamine, 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 dopamine. And now we've set the stage for like, okay, let's get into it and let's all fucking crush our business goals. That's the energy. That's the vibe. Do we understand that there is a time and place for you to feel not high vibe, not motivated, not determined, not wanting to set a goal? Yeah, absolutely. If you feel like you can't be in that kind of energy, like your grief or whatever it might be feels too heavy, then you're a capable, whole, resourceful human being, and then you could not come to that call. That's exactly it. However, we are not a life coaching program. We are not a grief counseling program. We are not a victim, survivor, loss program. We are a business coaching program. We make that very clear. You want to show up to a call. You want to be motivated, determined, excited, uplifted, leveled up to make progress in your business. Then these are the calls to come to. And this is how we're going to start them because we understand neuroscience. We understand mindset. We understand energetics. And we know that how we set the stage, the tone that we set for our calls shapes the time that we spend together. Oftentimes we are with Align CEOs for minimum an hour, oftentimes up to 4. To be able to hold energy for that long, you've got to be responsible for setting the energy and setting that tone. So we do that. We say, What are we celebrating? What feels like a win right now? Another thing that we do, whether you're an aligned CEO or not, or if you come to other calls with us, you'll notice we always kick a call off with music. That's intentional. And the music is intentional. It is so that when people arrive to the call, they're like, yes, this is a vibe. I want to be here. These people are like this room is already making me feel better, making me feel more excited, anticipating what's to come. That's all intentional because we believe that energetics are the backbone of everything. Mindset and energetics have to be placed first before you learn about any launch or funnel or sales strategy. You have to be the person who is willing to learn about that. If you're not in the right headspace, then it's not going to matter. So what we aim to do is build confidence, build motivation, strengthen motivation, release dopamine, and get everybody fired up to be working on their business. That's why we have such an incredibly high retention rate. That's why we have incredible results from people who are in our program. We are priming them. We prime ourselves and we are priming them to feel like, oh my gosh, this is possible. I can do this. Because if they arrived to our calls and felt like this is so hard and I'm never going to make it happen and why am I not good at this? Then that's the results they would get. And that's not the kind of businesses we're here to support. We are here to remind you all of your capability, of your resourcefulness, of what you have that is worth celebrating. It's all so important. So another powerful piece is the story that you tell yourself. When we're talking about some mindset shifts that you can have for setting goals, we really need you to reflect on and have some deep self-awareness around the story that you're telling yourself. Neuroscience shows us that repeated thoughts literally carve new neural pathways in the brain. So if your self-talk, your inner dialogue is like, this is hard, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, then your brain is reinforcing that loop. It's whether you think you are capable of something or you think you are not capable of something, whatever you think, whatever you believe of those two is true for you. You will continue to believe that is truth. This is why inner work, inner dialogue, mindset, confidence, energetics, NLP, neuroscience is all so incredibly important. This is the missing piece to a lot of business coaching programs, if I'm just being honest. I've been in many. I've paid a lot of money to be in many masterminds, many coaching programs, and many courses, and a lot of people miss the mark on this, or it's fluff. They don't actually understand the neuroscience. But when you do understand it and you practice more supportive, encouraging self-talk for yourself, like I am learning, I am being consistent, I am working on this, every step counts, I am capable of this, wiring new connections in your brain. And those new connections are going to support you in your follow-through. And your follow-through is so important. Your follow-through is so incredibly important to start something and then follow through with it. So let's just say that you're listening to this and you're thinking, what do I do with all of this science? What do I do with all of this new information about neuroscience and my reticular activating system and dopamine and my prefrontal cortex and how to set goals? Like, here's the thing. The key is to not just think about it, right? To not just listen to this podcast and think like, where do I go next? What do I do? But it is to engage your brain, your body in this whole process. So I would love for you to set, let's say, two goals. Let's say one that is deeply personal and one that is impactful for business growth. Okay, so deeply personal might be something around your health. It could be your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health. It could be deeply personal, could be you and your intimate relationship. It could be you in a really close relationship with a sibling or a parent or a friend. It could be deeply personal. I'm going to let you define what that means to you. And then impactful for business, what would have the most impact on your business as you move through the next quarter? So maybe it would be to be more consistent, to ask for more sales, to refine your product, to go all in on a launch, to be more profitable and not spend as much, whatever it might be. So you're going to choose two goals. And here's how you're going to engage your brain, your body in the whole process. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to tie in the visual component, and you're going to tie this in by writing those two goals down. You're going to write them down on a piece of paper. Then you are going to speak them out loud. So now you're bringing in the visual. Now you're bringing in the auditory reinforcement. Okay. So we've got the visual reinforcement. We write it down, the auditory reinforcement. We say it out loud. We're working with NLP here. NLP works with your senses. Then you are going to create a notes app in your phone, or you can keep a piece of paper at your desk or somewhere like that. Maybe you've got a whiteboard, and you are going to keep track of your wins. So you could do this daily or weekly, but I wouldn't extend it past a week. But I want you to reflect at the end of each day or the end of each week wins that are associated to one or either of those goals. Now you've got a chemical reinforcement because you're getting that dopamine going. And then I want you to revisit these goals often. When I say often, again, that's going to be different for everybody. That might be daily, that might be weekly. I wouldn't let more than a week go by without looking at my goal. Otherwise, it's probably not that important to you. So when you look at your goal daily or at the end of each week and think like, what have I done to move closer towards that goal? Why is that goal important? Is that goal still important to me? What am I willing to do and not do to make this goal happen faster? What am I doing, not doing to be able to experience this goal? And that's going to be your neural reinforcement, looking at it again and again and again. RAS, you're putting in your RAS. Give me proof that these two goals are possible. They are on their way. Other people have experienced them. I'm capable of experiencing them. So you're going to be able to neurologically reinforce these goals. So when you do this, you're not just setting goals, you are rewiring your brain to expect success, to expect the outcome. Like I started this podcast off, when you put it into the GPS and you follow the GPS and you set the goal, your expectation is you will arrive in Halifax, Nova Scotia. If I keep coming back to it, I keep putting it in the GPS, I keep making sure that even if I get detoured, I come back to what I said the goal is. The success would be arriving in Halifax. The success for you is going to be the outcome of your goals. So before we leave today, I want to leave you with a couple, let's say probably 3 simple practices that you can take away that you could try so that you can put the action of goal setting in a neuroscience perspective way into action right away in your life. Name your 2 clear goals, one for personal, one for business. Write it down in a single sentence, not a paragraph, not a script, not a full journal entry. What is your business goal? What is your personal goal? Write them down. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to break both of those goals down into the tiniest next step. Not all the steps, not all the teeny tiny steps, the tiniest next step that you could do in under 10 minutes. And then I want you to go do it. Not like, okay, I'm going to write it down and in less than 10 minutes I could do it, but I'll do it tomorrow. No, you're going to do it right now after you've written it down. And the third thing I want you to do is I want you to celebrate immediately afterwards. Whether that is taking a deep breath and saying like, I did it, or treating yourself to something small, or calling your biz bestie or your accountability buddy or whatever it is and being like, oh my gosh, I set this goal. I said I was going to do this tiny thing. I did it in less than 10 minutes and I just want to recognize myself for that. Celebrate yourself. This is going to tell your brain that your progress is rewarding, which it loves, right? Your brain loves that. Okay, I'm going to wrap it here. I love talking about this stuff. If you want more neuroscience, if you want more goal setting, if you want more goal setting in a neuroscience perspective, let me know. We are so excited that we are here in the fall season. It's a really exciting time. This is when we are gearing up to open the doors to a new year of Aligned CEO. So if you have been on the fence, if you've been thinking, if you've been watching, you've been waiting, keep your eyes peeled because we're going to have some fun bonuses for those of you who have been waiting for fall to be your time to join us. We enroll people in fall for an official January start, but then you get all of these bonuses in December and through November when you commit to joining us now. It's kind of like you get 14 months when your official start date is January. I just want to plant that seed for you that this is what is happening. We're gearing up for that. We are so excited for what we have in store in 2026 with live events and, of course, a more refined process because we're always refining and we're taking everything. We've always done this, but in this last year, we've invested really big. We've, paid over $100,000 in different coaching in the last year, not over the course of time, in the last 12 months, over $100,000 Canadian of coaching. And we are learning so much and we're so excited to always take what we learn, turn around and teach it in Aligned CEO method. And we can't wait to show everybody who's on the inside of like, here's what you can do in your business. Here's how you can get bigger, better results. Here's how you can dial your messaging. Here's how you can streamline your marketing. Here's how you can make sales while you sleep. Like, we love talking about this stuff. And so if you're listening to this and you're getting excited, and you're thinking, I want this in my business, I need this in my business, then keep listening. Keep listening into the podcast, read our emails, follow us on Instagram, because when those doors open, let me tell you, you will not want to miss out on the opportunity to get in when the doors open to get the bonuses. Okay, have a great week, everybody. We'll be back later this week with Biz Besties.